Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, Superfly 2025 came off of a, successful UCC3 in November of 2024. And as Marvin and I kind of let the dust settle there and the fire burn out a little bit, it was a really big event. And then we got into the new year, and me and Marvin had, talked about wanting to expand our reach a little bit and try something else. And me being a huge WWE fan, wanting to have another aesthetic version of what we do somewhere else. And so we talked about it, and we felt like we were potentially ready. So we looked at potential suitors and went to different event venues and looked around. And eventually, we were directed by a good friend of mine who owns the Wild Hair Minnesota in Stillwater. That's sponsored the event. And he said, JX venue, check it out. And so we did. We went down there, and they were open to it. And they were like, let's do this. This sounds like the greatest thing ever. And the JX venue it was. And I already...
Typically weddings and stuff.
Typically weddings, proms, homeschool proms. Yeah, things like this. I know. And so eventually it just went to... let's do this thing. And I kind of already had the idea in mind of what I wanted to call it. The Superfly seemed to be something that would be attractive. I'm always trying to say, how do we attract the non-jiu-jitsu fan? What is something that is appealing? And Superfly turns out to sound exciting and appealing to those who are like, what is that? And then you put jiu-jitsu super fights in there, and amongst all the other things, it can attract an audience that just isn't jiu-jitsu fans.
It also has a WWE vibe to it. Ric Flair energy or something.
Yeah, a little bit like SummerSlam. Yeah. Right?
Aesthetic.
Yeah, same aesthetic. And so we went off the UCC, we drove into this, and the process started. And it was honestly, the process was very similar to that of the very first Uncommon Classic. There was so many unknowns and so many things that we had to go through in the process, from permits to looking at a completely different venue that's so much bigger, and saying, how are we going to set this up? And when we were in there looking at it, we set it up initially. We looked at it as if we were just going to lay the mats on the floor. And I was like, well, if we want to really do this, like, that would essentially been the same thing as we would have gotten out of the Loon, and it would have been the same thing.
A little bigger venue, a little prettier, but the experience for the fan roughly the same.
But you can't really do much with seats at that point. And then so that's when it was, we saw they had like little stages, is where we had our broadcast on, right? They had, those were theirs. They're like little stage squares. And we looked at each other, and he's like, we can build this thing. We can build stage. And, that's Mar's forte. Mar's a construction guy through and through. And he measured it all out. And, once we looked into it, we were like, yeah, we can make this happen. Elevate the stage. And we considered bleachers at one point instead, but we decided to elevate the stage and bring it up a notch. And it started the process.
If fight to win is the super fight standard, which by volume I suppose they are, then elevate the fucking stage.
Elevate the stage. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because, I think what you're seeing with the UFC happening right now, they have this like bowl that you're seeing going on. And it's kind of ideal when you think about it, because you don't have to worry about people getting thrown off the edge of a platform, into the crowd. But it kind of adds the blood sport element to the jiu-jitsu matches as well.
And takes the corners out. Like CJI still had corners.
Yep.
Right? So theoretically fluid in all directions.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Is that what's next for me?
I don't know. We've had different conversations about different ideas, but that's going to be a conversation we have when we enter into theater seating, and we can get a venue that everybody can look down upon the stage instead of having to be like right around it, and at that level. So when we can get people looking down on the matches, then it's going to be a little bit more of, how do we adjust to make it so that we don't have to sit and worry about people getting thrown off the edge. You can just let them go all out, because there is a certain amount that you have to ask the athletes, and the referees and even the people around. We had people around the outside to help with that, and it's like, how you have to say, hey, have just a little bit of restraint. Don't throw anybody off the edge, because then it turns into, potential disaster for the event. So that's kind of where it works. But
nobody hit those pillars, huh?
Nobody hit the pillars.
There was talk, I'll tell you.
I'm sure.
On the floor as people were wandering in, checking it out. Hard corners, pillars, nobody hit it. Is that luck of the draw, or you think that's cautiousness to the point about going off of the...
I think it's probably both. We mentioned it in fighters meeting and things like this, that it's like we understand that there are a lot of different corners that we can cover in the future, and the amount of time that you're allotted to make something as great as possible, you're going to miss some of those corners, and there's going to be some either hazards, there's going to be glitches, there's going to be things that don't go off as well as you want to, and you can take those types of things and people's feedback and say, this is how we can do it better the next time, because now we have an even stronger foundation for the next time, say we were to use this venue, and we can say, how do we make it better next time, because you only have so much time, and you can only, you build an entire stage, and you do this huge promotion, and you get, vendors there to musicians and all these other people. You get all these things in place, and not everything's going to be as perfect as you want it to be, but the next time it gets a little better, next time it gets a little better.
It's a damn shame to wrap them up. They aesthetically look really good.
Yeah.
Like as the photo guy, I was like, no, they don't wrap these because it looks good.
Man, your photos that you put out so far are just... impressive, man. I mean, the way you're using the light in there. I saw the one of Roger Strotman here today. Wow, that was really nice.
I was going to post that one as an old guy meme. He was the first one to lean against a pillar to put the sweatband on.
Yeah.
I was going to make like making fun of old But the cool thing about it is he essentially had multiple spotlights.
Yep.
Super problematic, depending on the angle.
Right.
When they were in the right spot, it was in the right spot.
I think so. And we could probably, use more lights in the future. Some color would be nice. We actually had 2 that were supposed to be 4 color, to have color move around during the in-betweens, but we had to use those forward light because the broadcast, when they had their hand raised, it just came out too dark when we were looking at it. So we just put those lights in for white light instead, just that it's more important just to have a clear visual. So again, more things that you can be like, hey, we got to add more lights to the situation to have happen. So, but overall, I think it was a huge success, and I think that it was a really, really great experience for the athletes, for the coaches, for the vendors, the sponsors, for the spectators, for the event venue, and for Minnesota Jiu-Jitsu. I think it was a really, really positive night of great entertainment and great athletics, for sure.
That's right. I think so far, I think that's largely the consensus too. Refresh my memory from our previous conversation. Is this replacing UCC or
No.
is this in addition?
This is in addition. Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to always remember where you come from. And, Chisago City, Minnesota, the Uncommon Classic is, it has a really deep community feel to it when you pack into that small space. I mean, as we say it's small, but at one point it was large, for us, and so it's, It has a deep importance to MSMA up there, and MSMA is a big part of the beginning of all this, and give them some exposure, give exposure to a cool little town up there for a night, and a great brewery, honestly, with a great venue for jiu-jitsu matches, and we make it neat, and it brings everybody into this kind of small quarters where it's not so much about luxury and lavishness and chandeliers and all this, right? It's kind of a little more roadhouse action up there, and it's cool, and we don't ever want to lose that aspect of what we do. We want to always remember where we came from and where we started, and always go back to that space when we can. And so the UCC, the Uncommon Classic, is still in full effect. Annual
thing, or do they
annual
off every other year?
No, annual. Yeah, I would see that. The Superfly itself is it's movable. And it's not. It isn't necessarily the Superfly belongs to Stillwater. I'm from Stillwater. I always wanted one in Stillwater. I knew it'd be a good town to host something cool. There's a lot to do in there, so I wanted to have something in my hometown, and I wanted to showcase, something that I'm passionate about there, and do something cool and bring people to. I think what is a pretty cool city, and so, but it can move anywhere. So no matter how big it gets, no matter where it goes, the Superfly is movable, and I don't care which venue that it's at. We love the JX venue; they were great to us, and I look forward to working with them again. But it can go anywhere we want it to go. So the Superfly is definitely a mobile name.
Right. Like it can get bigger.
Yeah, it can get bigger.
One's going to be the cute.
Yep.
I don't mean cute condescending, but cute small town thing.
Yeah.
Did you sell out this time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's what like to sell out that venue completely, like fill it to its max capacity,
Which is a different thing.
would have been a completely, would have been very, not that great for the spectators, right? Because I was looking out as I was on stage and I was seeing people on their tiptoes in the back from the general standing. I saw how packed the other side of general standing was. The tables were full, the seats were full, and I was like, man, it took us one time to max out the JX venue for what we could offer it as a jiu-jitsu show, right? Now, if I could put bleachers back there, but then it'd block this. So what we're saying is it's a huge venue, but for what we're doing, we 100% maxed it out and sold out. Yeah, for sure.
Quality entertainment.
Correct.
Maxed out the facility for challenging fire codes.
No. Yeah, that's not the case, but but I would say we maxed it out for sure, and so it was very positive. But the matchups were fantastic too. I think the athletes came and showed out. Yeah,
you making these matchups? Are you
me and Mar?
So
So we get people to apply. Right, we have people in mind, and me and Mar sit around. Mar spearheads the matchups, and him and I have conversations about every single one of them. And so when somebody comes in, and we say, this person's, we do value people that get their name in early. It's a thing. Like people that are like, hey, I want to be a part of this. You're showing the intention, like I want to game. Well, we take that seriously, and we love that. So get your applications in when we say we're going to do an event, and we do value someone who's like prompt and onto it. So when we see people getting in, we're like, oh man, this would be a great matchup. This would be a great matchup. This would be a great matchup. And we talk through all the potentials of what a matchup means and say why this would be good, why we should put it in the event. Does this school not have a competitor in it yet? Right? We've considered that too. It could be anybody. It could be MSMA, M Theory, everyone. If they don't have a competitor in it yet, we consider that because we want to also think about representing as much of jiu-jitsu in Minnesota as we can too. So make great matchups, represent as much of it as we can with our reach, and it's not exclude to anybody. I don't care if you're a wrestler, a jiu-jitsu athlete, if you're an MMA fighter, whatever it might be. We're going to try and pit you to make the best matchup and the most appealing matchup to happen, and that goes with the grappling industry's rule sets that we use, and then into the UCC specialized rule sets that we use. We use that specific rule set to specific matches because we want to see a different outcome to those matches. We want to see something different happen. We want you to get out of your comfort zones. We want you to try to become a combat athlete and not just a wrestler or not just a jiu-jitsu athlete or not just a MMA fighter. We want you to try different facets of that skill. And if you have, say, 5 minutes to submit somebody, you have 5 minutes to do it. And if you can't do it, guess what? You get another shot. You got an EBI round to do it. And if you can't do it, get on your feet and prove that you're a combat athlete. And let's start there. I'd say Hunter Estabrook is the quintessential UCC rule set guy, and he goes out there, but he shows in his matchup against Tom Falk that he's willing to use jiu-jitsu as well. He's trying, so he's not just going out there and being a bull. He's trying to win with jiu-jitsu, and all else fails, he gets on his feet and he makes it happen. So yeah, Hunter Estabrook's the man for that for sure.
Bull jiu-jitsu.
Bull jiu-jitsu. Bull jitsu.
Rule set, so people can look up grappling industry's rule set on their own to explain.
Yeah, so we have the UCC rule set, and this will eventually expand to just having our own rules. And then the wrestle-offs will be a specialized part of those rules for certain matchups. But UCC rule set is essentially a 5-minute, straightforward grappling match, just like grappling industry's rules, 5 minutes. And then if there's no victor within 5 minutes, it goes to a 1 minute EBI overtime advantage for each competitor. And choose the back, choose the butterfly, yep. And if there is no victor from that point, we go to a 2-minute wrestle off to decide. And that can be takedown and a 3-second hold from that takedown. And so we're trying to find a way to not have referees or points decisions, right, in certain matches. So take Katie and Jessica's matchup, for instance. Like they've matched up in the UCC too. It was a great matchup. Katie won that matchup by points, and Katie's really top dominant, strong IBJJF type competitor, and Jessica is more of a 10th Planet player from her back, great with submissions. Obviously she won this one with the EBI overtime, which would make sense being a part of that style of gym. She did a great job. It was a fantastic matchup, but what it did is it took, hey, you did this matchup before and it went to points. Let's do this rematch here under the UCC rule set and let's see what happens. And Jessica won it in the overtime, and Katie had an armbar pretty close throughout the entire match, but Jessica did a great job using her legs to fend that off. And
to be 7 feet tall.
7 feet tall. I know, right? You just see her legs just whip around. And so, if it goes to a wrestle off, what happens, right? And we never got there though. So, but that was the second matchup in our events between those two. So maybe in the future, somewhere down the road, not tomorrow, but maybe we'll see them go at it again someday. So
that's probably the perfect example. I'm glad you brought that one up, because like the wrestle off, not saying anything about anybody, I'm assuming it goes the other way.
Yeah.
Right. Like, is it an advantage to a guard player here, advantage to this person there, and this person here? You tapped into that rule set 4 or 5 times throughout the night, and it seemed to do exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. And it's a beginning process. Like like in jiu-jitsu now, you have to be approved through the Minnesota Combative Sports Offices, and Grappling Industries is a rule set that is fully approved by them. And so we have a base rule set with Grappling Industries rule sets as our base, and then we were able to put in addition to having specialized rule sets as we grow. And we have to send in all of our matchups, what happened. If there's a little knee tweak, or if there is some blood that comes out, or anything that happens, we have to inform them, and we have to say that all these things, right? And so if you have a good track record, you can expand your rule sets and keep it clean. Show that you're not doing weird things out there. And so the more we can do that, the more then we can add into our rule sets. And eventually we have our own rules, and the things like wrestle-offs and the EBIs just become specialized additions to specific matches, right? And so there will be we're doing Grappling Industries and this. It'll just be under UCC rules. And at certain matches, we will call that a specialized rule set of a wrestle-off at the end and so forth.
I love that. Finding a loophole. Grappling Industries roughly the IBJJF rules with a few differences.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I think it's largely.
I'm not a total rule set aficionado. I'm more the promotions guy. I always say in the chats, I'm like reach out to Mar at MSMA Terminator with all rule set questions. Yeah, so yeah.
The way their answer is, and I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do a pretty decent job, but my mind is on so many other things, and when I get curveballed into that stuff, I kind of like, okay, I want to make sure it's answered properly. Yeah, so.
Well, I can relate to that, because people ask me, how did this match go and that match go and this match go, and it's like, well, I was taking pictures. I have no idea. And they're like, aren't you taking pictures of the match? I'm like, yeah, but I'm looking for shapes and like position, the eye contact. Like, I took a hand raise shot and then I moved on to the next match. Like, I honestly, so this actually, our match by match breakdown could be fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
There was actually.
Know what happened? I know. There's times I looked at the scorekeeper Heidi Menden. I looked at her. I'm just like, who won? Because I'm doing so much stuff behind him. Like, what happened? Who won? How was it submission? Was it? I'm looking at her, and then I'll look at the referee, and I have no dialogue with the referee. It's not like the UFC where Bruce walks out, talks to the ref, gets the official announcement, and then they do it out there. It's like he stands, looks at me, and there's been times I've looked at him and I'm like, winner by, and I'll wait till I'll be like, come on, give me a little hint.
Give him a hand signal.
I know.
Yeah, Chris would have done it.
Yeah, no, we did. I think we did. We got all of them pretty well sealed away.
He came up to me, Ryan Dixon, I think, and he was like, so what did Chris do to have to ref all the matches? I was like, Chris is just a gangster. You don't give a shit. I'm sure he basically just said, yeah, I'll ref it all.
Well, we had a second referee, and I won't name names, but they didn't show up.
Comes up.
Yeah, they kind of what would you call that? Ghosted us a little bit.
We'll assume
something happened.
Defer.
Yeah, defer. But yeah, something happened here. So yeah, they just didn't show up, and we never heard from them, and so that was really unfortunate. Because they're actually a really great person. So I hope everything's okay. I haven't heard anything about it, but
And Chris is a baller.
Chris a baller, and Mar is actually, naturally I want Marvin. I consider Marvin to be the head of officiating and player affairs as far as like rules and things like this, and I want him to develop the rule sets for everything we do, and he's really, really smart, and so when it comes to these things, so I always want him to be the guy that does the main events, the spotlight matches, and the problem is that he's unfortunately, the Terminator name comes because he finds himself getting into, physical body trouble all the time. And he had hurt his toe so significantly, and you couldn't even, it was torched. And I forgot how he did it, but he was hobbling around all night. And I looked at him, I'm like, you going to do these matches? And he's like, Hubbies, I think I'm just going to have Chris stay out there. So, that's a pretty big, for Marvin to say he's not going to do it, that his foot hurt pretty bad because, yeah, he was fighting through it the whole night, yeah.
From a toe.
From a toe, I know.
That's a good impression.
We hang out a lot. But, as far as I would say, as we look at the matchups, right? Okay, let's talk about the main event first. Because I feel like there's, we had a matchup in place prior to the matchup that happened. And it's fair to be talked about because I'd love to clear the air about it because a lot of people have asked me about, people are going to always ask, oh, what happened? Did he pull out for this reason? Something changed, right? So we had Alvin Hines against Dylan Oss, and that was going to be a great matchup that we were looking forward to.
So much so that you and I drove across town.
Drove across town.
Promo materials.
Face off, all this stuff. We had
Super cute.
Man, it was the coolest thing ever. And, Guzzi had asked for Dylan at the Uncommon Classic 3. He was sitting on the steps behind where the fighters walk in. He looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Hub." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I want that big boy right out there next time." And I said, "Okay." I told Mar right away, and that was kind of our place we go. Well,
matchmaking.
Well, Guzzi, not too long prior to the Superfly, being announced, or if it was during it, he seemingly head kicked a guy at his LFA fight and knocked him out, and he's a heavyweight, so that doesn't happen too often, and it was epic. And I remember me and Marvin texted each other, and we're like, we just probably lost Guzzi. Yeah, because we knew where he was headed. Yeah, we knew where he was headed, but you know what? Guzzi took it. And we said, "Hey, you got bigger fish to fry, but we want to know, we want to give you this match." And he took it, and he was all in, and Dylan accepted it, and there was going to be this thing, and we got to 3 days out. You and I had done the big promo for them. I had interviews, I had the whole thing set, and 3 days out, we got the call, and it said, by his management, and they said that, most likely he's going to get picked up by the UFC, and we waited, and so I got a message from Guzzi, the very next morning, and Mari got a message from their management, and Guzzi's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "I did not see this coming," and I knew him right then, and we were already on the ball of trying to find a replacement, and, we could have been more proud. I mean, what a great thing for Alvin though to represent Minnesota in the UFC. I mean, go do it, go represent. That was honestly the case. I talked to him and we were like, "Man, me and Marvin are so proud of you," and just like how you're just going on to go out there and live the dream and make the best of it, man. Embrace the moment. And I told him when he gets done winning the UFC title and all his things are done, I said he'll come back. I said we'll be in the Target Center at that point. I said, and then we'll have the main event that never happened, and we'll be able to use the promo videos. And I said, and we'll make him against Dylan, and Dylan will be a black belt at that point, and Guzzi will be a UFC world champion, and we'll make one of the coolest jiu-jitsu matchups ever. You see, it's just for big things. And so, but then insert Chris Montalvo. Similar credit, Alliance, badass, and he would
call up for sure.
Yeah, and he came up here, and he was funny because he was here that Sunday when we were filming, and he's like, "Man, I really wish I could have got a matchup." I'm like, "I know," because his application, we didn't see it till late, and then so it ended up, "Hey, Chris, you want to take this match against Dylan?" And he's like, "Let's do it." And Dylan was like, Dylan, obviously, we had a couple options for Dylan, and Chris seemed to be a good option. And so we jumped on Chris. Chris jumped in, and we had our main event back. And Dylan has earned that spot in this. Dylan's a great guy, shows up, always there, great for the image of Minnesota Jiu-Jitsu, and
He's been a bit of a performer, too.
he is a performer. He took the shirt off. Did you see the shirt come off? I know, just the flex. You did. And so he and so he goes, so Dylan has won the UCC co-main event twice. He won it in the against Dusty Jelly in the UCC 2. It is jelly. It looks like hood jelly, but it's jelly.
A lot of meme opportunities.
Yeah, you have. You should really hit that with the one you posted today. And so next match. And so then he won the co-main event against Devontae McClam at UCC 3, and it made perfect sense. He's worked his way up to be on the top of the card for sure, and he performed amazingly in the Superfly, won with 11 seconds left on a submission. So,
and this is not any sort of a slight at Chris, obviously. He'll whip my ass, he's the fighter.
Yeah, for sure.
Turned into way more of a match than I was expecting, just on late notice alone.
Yeah.
Like, props to both of them. For sure. Yep. Excellent match. Yep. Me too. Let's talk about Jelly Hager.
Hit me with some jelly. Jelly and the White Monster, John Hager.
Is it Hager?
It's Hager.
This should be a regular podcast. How to pronounce everybody's name.
It is. I know.
What was 4 minutes of quasi reverse cowgirl?
Yeah. Essentially.
That famous video of one of the Meow brothers doing it. So they're in good company.
Yeah, they're in good company.
What was the deal behind that match? Should those guys be fighting each other? And that's no dig on either of them.
No, here's what happened. I don't. I know that John Hager had beaten one of Dusty's students. I think I don't remember where it was. Maybe a Ritsu or a Nisani thing. It might have been one of the two.
It was that Nisani.
Yeah, and so he beat him there, and John's a little bit of a shit talker, and as he does, and then as time went on, he came out and he talked shit about Dusty Jelly, and he called him out essentially, and then so Jelly got back on the video and said, "All right, John," he's like, "I'm going to call you out. I'm going to say Superfly 2025." He's like, "I call you out," and it seemed like a no-brainer. I said, "Let's do it." And I said, "Let's put it on." We decided, let's put it on the show. And, there it was. That's how it happened. And John being, a smack-talking blue belt, went out against Dusty. And John's no fool. John knows that Dusty's we know where he's at. But at the same time, it was fun to for a little bit of vibrancy there for a minute. We needed a little vibrancy to keep things moving, and he provided that. And I don't mind a little bit of friendly smack talk amongst everybody to get you on a matchup if it's worth it, right? So it's yeah.
And like you were saying, I think that keeps the spirit of it alive.
Yeah.
We want good matches, we want good competition matches, but we're also here to have a good time.
Yep.
Music. A couple of oddball matchups. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and you want to have it fun. And you know what? It got Dringer Jiu-Jitsu involved, and we want to keep them on these cards. And we love having Start BJJ involved. We really like Brock up there and the things that he does, so we want to keep them involved too. So there's
down to the cities. Props to the outer schools.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. So I thought, it was a fun matchup to have. And another one that I'd love to bring up is, Brady Duggan coming down from, Leading Edge MMA.
In 2 or 3 guys.
Three. Yeah. So Jack Fullerton, Jesse Veltri, Brady Duggan, all 3 came down from Leading Edge down here, Gamers, and Brady had to go against the formidable Tim Leung, though, the captain, the Tim Tornado, and that's a tough order for anybody. Tim being the athlete and competitor that he is, it's not an easy task. And Tim, the same as Dylan, has just continued to make headlines in our shows, and he's a huge part of what we do. We value Tim as a competitor. We want Tim to continue to grow with us as we grow, and we want to continue to highlight and showcase him for sure, because he's fun to watch. He brings it. He comes out there and he's from bell to bell, doesn't ever give you really a dull moment. And you got to think about it from the slam to the Augustine submission highlight in UCC3 to just a great co-main event win on Saturday.
Quite the legacy so far.
Yeah, quite the legacy in here. Yeah, Tim's a heck of a competitor, so I enjoyed that matchup quite a bit.
I'm going to pause us briefly here and ask if you were privy at all to the Dan Manasak show.
No. Tell me about this.
Did you hear any of this? Dan's becoming something of a Minnesota legend, in my opinion.
Okay.
At some of the super fight events. And so the loudest and most drunk sounding and obnoxious feedback from one individual in the crowd is Dan.
Okay.
And I'm glad you didn't hear any of this, because this time around it was ref taunting. And again, when you got a gangster like Chris up there, he's been reffing MMA for years. Like, he's probably been challenged to fights by the crowd and stuff. Like, so it wasn't. We had the perfect ref to catch taunting from the crowd from the Dan Manasak.
I heard something come up. It was by you, wasn't it?
What?
Was he by you? Was he right next to?
He was back behind me for a good chunk of it. But once you dial into Dan's voice, 3-beer Dan's voice, you can't unhear it no matter where it is. So I'm glad that the production staff actually wasn't keyed in. Funny as it is, it would have been distracting.
Yeah.
But it was his best work yet. He was great at a previous Fight to Win, where I hear, even through the live stream, you could hear him screaming and taunting and talking shit. But it was his cleanest, most directed efforts.
Yeah.
It was a good ancillary part of the show, I think. So we definitely invite Dan back to be part of the crowd.
Sounds good.
We'll come up with a VIP seating system for the taunt.
For the taunters. Yeah. Well, the interesting part is, it's like I've been shooting a lot of different sporting events, and I would say jiu-jitsu like this for sure. The referees can take a hit. Football, they're kind of out of the way, for fans and stuff. But I'll tell you what, basketball. I've been to some basketball games this year, and white man, I tell you what, they are under fire all the time because they're right up to the fans. And basketball referees, I tell you, they got nerves of steel. That's for sure. Yeah,
experts in the crowd
all the time. Yep, for sure.
Back to the show.
Yeah, no. So I thought Tim had a great matchup, and moving through. Walker Renz had a huge, submission. Quick submission. 14 seconds. The guillotine over Chad Stenson. This is one that I'm really was actually really happy about. Was Travis Henn versus Devontae McClam. Devontae was submitted by Travis in the previous Fight to Win that was here in town. And I think I'm with the heel hook, potentially. I was a ways away when it happened. But Devontae has tried to, set some new intentions for his jiu-jitsu game. And he had, gone and trained at Jackson Wink. And he had done a bunch of different things, setting, some new goals for himself. And to see him come out and put in the matchup that he did against Travis, he's going on a subspectrum this weekend. And he's been winning a lot. And Devontae went out and he lost by 2 points. And it was a really great match. He was playing leg locks with him, and I was really proud of the way Devontae McClam came in and showed out. He's a really great guy, and so I was really happy with that matchup.
Cool thing is he's a big dude. Obviously, he's not the thickest of the big dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 6'3" or something.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, and just a big guy.
Yep.
But he was using little guy stuff to survive that Travis train.
Yeah.
Kept inverting and regarding and stuff, Cool to see a more dynamic game amongst the big fellas.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
That's the match that I, as the photographer guy, I have my deepest regret about, because when Travis did the Karelin lift,
yeah,
and was just carrying him around, I was on my longer lens and it was super tight.
Yeah,
where that's where you want it.
Sure.
You see the crowd doing that thing. Just seeing a man manhandle and carry around
another man.
It's a great photo, and I kind of missed it. We'll see.
And
to that match yet in my head.
And it was, what was even really funny about that is that Ian Owens of Third Degree Media was on the stage, and he was trapped between a pillar and those two big bodies. And I was watching him. I was like, Owens, you're going off the edge. It was a close moment, but that is the cameraman life is.
Did he get the shot at least? He would have been really tight too.
Yeah, I'll have to. We're going through the footage as we roll. Yeah, for sure. So good matchup. Obviously, we talked a little bit about Jessica and Katie. With that matchup, Jessica getting the win over Katie in the UCC rules.
Just 2 female matches this time.
3.
Was there 3?
Yeah, we had Jessica and Katie. We had Rachel and Casey, and then we had Kayla Searyard and Madeline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so 3. And so it was great, though, because Madeline actually worked her way in by messaging us right when we were about to close out. And she's like, hey, I'm right here. I just want to, I just got my blue belt. She's like, or something like that. And she's like, is there a match for me? And Kayla was looking for a match because her and Colin Huckbody, who, another worthy guy to talk about, is they're coming away from Fargo for these matchups. And, they're like, hey, can we get her a matchup too? And we really wanted to. And then, Madeline came around. She was, there's a little bit slight weight difference. And we were just like, hey, this is what we can get you. And we had made it happen. So we were pretty excited about that. We wanted more women's matches on here. And it's, I think that this is something I'm going to say about the women that are up here in Minnesota. I just think that we have some real badasses up here in the Minnesota scene. And, I reached out to quite a few gyms below us from Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan to try to get different women competitors to come up here against like the likes of Jessica, Rachel, and Katie, and so forth. And it was hard. It was hard to get them to want to come up and compete against them. And some of them that weren't ready, or some of them, that was just the competition was just, the disparity was too much. Some that were willing just had it was maybe a travel or it was things like that. But it was hard to get them to come up. And the one thing about Minnesota grapplers is we're always willing to travel. Aren't we? We're like, let's be game and let's go down and travel to wherever that is, because we kind of have to, because we never really had anything that was ours, but we're building something that's ours. And my hope is that as we move forward, that we have people that come up that are willing to face off against our strongest, women grapplers up here, and they won't have a choice.
Ritsu keeps growing.
Yep.
The Classic.
Yep.
The Superfly.
Yeah.
All the rest of it. Santy's going to be doing stuff in there even farther north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
getting too strong.
I don't want them to. I don't want them to have to face each other anymore. I would love to face them against people from different places, and say, hey, come up here and face Minnesota's grappler. But always keep those Minnesota grapplers on there, but give them different opposition. Yeah, so that's what I think. I think our the ladies in our brackets are just too strong.
Next
match. So we're moving through. We do have Colin Huckbody, Ryan Simonis. Yeah.
No, I don't want to roll with either of those guys.
No, I don't either. Ryan, black belt out of Alliance, Huckbody, ACA, coming up, and MMA fighter, doing great things.
Those guys make me mad.
Yeah. He's doing great. He just comes into our events and wins. That's all he does. Won at UCC 2, won 2 matches at UCC 3, and then had a great matchup here against a black belt. And, I told Colin, I messaged Colin as we were talking yesterday, I was doing my closeouts, and I said, hey, I was like, you keep winning, you're just going to keep moving up this card. And eventually, I said, you're going to end up facing Dylan Austin in an open weight main event matchup. And they're actually friends. Yeah. And so, which is interesting to think about. But, eventually, sometimes roads cross. And I wouldn't be opposed to that if Huckbody keeps winning and Dylan keeps doing what he's doing up there. We'll see. But
that match of submission, how did that
how did it feel? I can't remember how it finished now.
These details,
I can't remember either. I want to say that Colin won by submission. I think he did. I don't remember how he won it. Sorry, Colin. I can't remember all the details.
That's going to be part of the fun of this. It's like, we were there.
We were there, so involved. I can't remember. I know. I actually, you know what? I have the sheet on three. I could actually look and see. I know. Let's just go off of memory and see how much we can fail. So yeah, Nick Thompson, Tom Krenzel, just a classic veteran matchup there, and Nick got the win with the sub, as he does. That was great. That was fun to watch. It was fun to see this. No, why are you pushing me, man? I mean, you were there. Was it a Darce?
He would tell you he's a one-note grappler, and I think that's the note. So
yeah. Yeah.
Anything past like 8 p.m., 7:30 p.m., I'm never gonna remember.
I know. I know it is. Yeah, but that Nick, it was good to have Nick Santos and Zechariah Jones. They went to the UCC rules EBI rounds, and Zeke pulled it out. I believe an armbar there, something like that.
Yeah, like from upside down.
Upside down. Yeah, great picture. Oh, yeah. And Santos being an incredible MMA fighter on his way in his professional career as well. It's great to see him to come in and obviously just do jiu-jitsu and stuff. So that's what I love about MMA fighters. They're pretty much game for anything. You know, they'll come there like, screw it, I'll come in, I'll just do jiu-jitsu, and then they learn something, like, you know, about themselves. And
it's pretty much like, oh, you're not going to punch me? Sure, sign me up.
Sign me up. Get some you know, some stage time and get out there and stay active, right? Jack Fullerton, Mason Kleinfeld. Mason's a wrecking crew, man. Holy buckets.
Good God.
That dude is something. I tell you, isn't he? I know, coming on to next level.
And he's like a white belt or something. And he's destroying everybody. What is he, 17, 18?
I don't even know what age he is.
Brown belt, purple belt. Either way.
He looks like he's 30 and that he owns an insurance company. And that he's just slaying people out here on the mats. And I'll say this, yeah, he is definitely a prodigy, and he is going to make some huge waves in his.
Way more methodical than a guy his age should be.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying, he looks
Yeah.
like an older grappler.
Yeah.
More experienced kind of thing.
Yeah, Nate's definitely got him on a fast track to some great things. That's for sure. Drinking mineral waters, yeah. And then Rocky Reyes, Melvin Blummer. Wow, that was, you know, in the gi, these two grizzled vets going at each other. Yeah, the career killer always usually making his way onto the stage with us.
I was hoping to get some good hair flinging photos.
I know, of Mel. Yeah, Mel got the victory in the final wrestle off UCC rules round for him. So great win for Melvin there. Rocky's a great guy though, and I enjoy. Speaking of the WWE, Rocky Reyes with his promotional videos. I mean, tell you what, he was inspired, and I appreciate his spirit for sure. Yeah, great guy. Great to have him.
I've got an episode of the usual podcast with him in the can, and he had the sunglasses. All right, brother. That's good.
Yeah, that's classic Rocky for sure. We had Steven Asplin there. Another MMA fighter.
Just stand up, man. You see him just stand up.
Yep.
3 times.
Yeah.
That match.
Yep.
What a bear.
I know, he is a bear, just a big boy. But you know, to Logan Barrett's credit, Logan is something. I said that in my video to him when I said Logan. I was like, brother. I was like, you dominated in the UCC 2. I said, didn't see you at the UCC 3. I saw your name come through, and now you just did this. I was like, you got to get back in. I was like, I want to see what this Logan Barrett's capable of doing, because, you know, he's got some serious potential on him. And you know, Steve was on top of him. Steve's not a small man, and Steve is a tough man. Not gentle at all. Yeah, and so when it comes to that type of thing, but you know, Logan got the win over Steve, and but it was good to have Steve in. Steve is a great human being and great family.
Huge spirit.
Huge.
Good performer.
Oh my gosh, total, isn't he? I know. I really like Steven. Yeah, and I really like Logan too. Great guys. And then we had Tyler Olson, Luke Powers, the Butcher. Read about that. T.O. having to step in because we had a pull out there.
He's figuring it was something like that.
Yeah, T.O. had to step in for a second match. It's just kind of the closest weight that we could find for him. You know, Mar considered it for a minute, but Mar has had so much happening, and it was just it only made sense if it had to happen. And so he got Tyler Olson, which seemed right because Tyler was almost going to step in at UCC for him when, you know, Jay was missing forever, and so or Luke was going to step in against Tyler Olson, and so it was kind of cool to be like, hey, let's try this match out. And I'll give, you know, Luke got the win, and congratulations and props to Luke for doing that, taking care of business. But Tyler Olson had him in some spots there early on, and I know that Luke doesn't tap very much ever to anything, but to see Tyler go out there and actually put on a good show, it doesn't surprise me. Tyler is a huge part of these events, and he's taken 2 matchups in pretty much every event except for the last one.
I was noticing when I was sorting out the photos and comparing previous events, I'm like, we just get this guy 2-3 times every time.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy we love having there. You know, he takes care of himself. He's always out there competing, and always game to step in when you need him to step in. He's like that perfect weight.
I think he was first this time to be like, hey, where are the pictures?
Was he?
And in fairness, he's hit me up like, hey, was there any other shots from like previous events or whatever?
Oh, sure. Okay, fair enough.
Get out, circle back around, and then I never do.
Yeah.
So good on him for trolling.
Yeah.
I was like, you calm down, Daddy.
Take it easy. Yeah, no. And then Rachel. Rachel got a victory against Casey Anderson. Casey's a strong bull, too. She's tough. And Rachel went out there and did a great job, tried getting the rear naked choke on her, and then ended up winning by a points decision.
Just ran out of time?
Just ran out of time. That's it. Ran out of time. She controlled the match, pretty well through the entire, had her back for quite a while. And, Casey's tough, and Casey was an MMA fighter, and but Rachel's on a tear. Yeah, she is. She's on a path, and she's got a mission, and she's going out there and trying to prove some things to herself. And I tell you what, I think there's a lot of people better look out for her. They're not going to want to meet her, and that's a tough thing. I told her she's got to stop making friends with all these people out there, all these fellow women grapplers, because I was like, you need to be an evil sorceress, because if you start making friends with everybody, they're all going to be like, well, I'm friends with Rachel. I don't want to, I was like, I need people to want to come up here. Rachel's a tough one to find matchups for because she does have a formidable intimidation factor about her.
I might push back on this.
You think so?
Like, she's a dog.
Yeah.
A lot of these gals are dogs. They're relentless. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Look at how often just like
yeah.
4, 6, or 8 face each other in grappling industry
and
stuff. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's women. They're better with that.
Yeah.
Let's all connect and have a community.
Yeah. Nobody's been harder to make matchups for me than Rachel Kenny.
I think it's less about like,
I've had more pullouts. I've had more pullouts. Had more pullouts than anybody than Rachel Kenny. I know. So yeah, she's. We want to keep her in these events.
Every time I see her in the gi here, I'm like, shit.
Another great soul, and I'm excited to see where she takes her jiu-jitsu game.
First one to use one of my photos from this event as her profile picture.
Yeah.
Which is fully my expectation for the record. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This one was really great. Roger Strotman, Kelly Johnson.
Yes.
And my sister said riveting. It was a riveting match, and it was riveting. They both wanted it.
Yeah. It's good to see Kelly wrestle a little bit, get on his feet.
Yep.
He competes in the gi so often. He goes right to his back. He starts doing this behind the back lapel stuff, which is maniacal. You can't deal with it for the record. It's really good, but it's like, move around, brother. You're like the fittest guy here at 150 years old. Let's move a little. And
yeah.
Good to see him on his feet and kicking ass.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, a really great match. Roger's a really great guy.
I've never seen him go before. It was fun to watch because I've done a little business with him. I've gotten to know him, but I've seen him compete before, so that was super fun.
Yeah, super fun. Great family. And yeah, I'd love to see, obviously, Kelly back again as always. I'd love to see Roger back again too. He was great to have on the show.
More women, more old guys.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah. Now we're working, right? Me too. Brandon Kambungza against Nick Smith in the gi, and Nick took care of business in that one. Brandon from McCune's Martial Arts, Nick from MSMA. Classic gi match there. Nick got the victory. I don't remember how now. It was a submission? Was it? Yeah, I think so too.
I think Brandon was the cat at Fuji in the cash brackets with all those black belts.
Yeah.
And like taking home cash.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
He is a dog.
Yeah. God, I swear.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Nick's a good player though, and Nick had to go. I believe got some surgery not too long ago, and made his way back into being able to compete again. And so it's got to feel good to get back. This was one of my favorite matchups though. Matchup number 11, Tom Falk, Hunter Estabrook. These two guys going at each other, bullheading in the middle of the mats, the classic UCC matchup that you want to see. And we knew that's what it was going to be after we had a pullout from Hunter's first opponent, and then Tom took it as Tom would, because that's Tom. And we wanted Tom in initially, so I was glad to see him get in there. And they went all the way to the end of the wrestling round, and there still was no victor. So but we got Hunter to end up winning in the end by referee's decision. Yep. And
pretty much all you can do at that point.
Yeah.
You can't just keep rerunning this.
No, you can't. It is. So, but, great matchup to watch. It was just that grind out, matchup and war of attrition. And, love both those guys. Love both those competitors.
I did catch, Tom, the picture of you wrestling, standing, and visibly smiling. Semi-inside joke between him and I.
Is that? Well,
good shot of him smiling up on the stage while fighting.
Nice work. Talked about John. Talked about Dusty. Lowell, Wolf, Sam Strand. Lowell got the victory there. I believe, did he get the submission on that one? I know. This is hilarious. I want to say Lowell got the submission. I know we're gonna get just ripped here. And it's like, this guy doesn't even know his own event.
The guy who created the photographic evidence, took all the hand raise shots. Can't remember.
I can't remember nothing.
I even edited these among through those matches.
Next match, Matt Halverson, Morgan Fraser.
Great pictures.
Yeah, are they great pictures? Gosh dang, I know. Marv and Morgan came in just hard, coming upside down too. He's got the back tattoo. Yeah, and so, it was a really great matchup, really tactical, sniper matchup. And, Matt. Yep. Yeah.
Something that caused
Yep, a little bit of a tweak there. And, yeah, Matt got the victory there over Morgan. Both great competitors. And
Is that Matt's first time competing at black belt?
I don't know.
He's a relatively fresh black belt.
Is he really?
His first black belt match.
Okay.
So,
Kudos. Both great competitors. Morgan's been on a few of our shows now, and always a huge supporter of the events that we have here. And glad to see both of those guys back on our card in the future for sure.
Bleaches his hair, seems like in conjunction with competition.
Yeah.
But his hair's a little bit longer, and I got a couple of really awesome shots.
Gosh dang it! Oh.
One is even looking toward the camera. Sorry, camera goes.
God, just look at that. The razor in action. All right. Miss Lil, for Liberty, Solomon Lenkov. Solomon's tough. Solomon's the seller tough. He's got just big quads, and he just comes in and he's just aggressive, and he can play hard. Solomon took the UCC3 off. He was up to things, and then back in. He's been a part of a couple of our events now, and it was great to see him back. And Miss Lil and him had a really cool matchup, in my opinion. They both go hard, and Solomon got the victory there in the end. And oh gosh, the one he wrote Maine on there. That was awesome. What a great shot. I know, smiling and jovial. So yeah, good on Solomon. Ethan Brinkman against Kevin Skadsheim. Yeah, Kevin got the submission there in the end. That was a grind out matchup.
Half guard player.
A lot of half guard going on.
Yeah, all of that was like textbook Kevin.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure here a time or two.
I'm sure.
It was fun to watch. I've never seen Ethan compete ever, I don't think. And he and I chat a lot, DMs and stuff, so that was fun match to watch. It felt heavy.
Yeah, it did. I just grew a fondness for Kevin, in our group chat. After Kevin had an 11 at night, explosion one night of just all the funny, weird things that people were posting. He's like, you know what, enough's enough. And can you guys shut up? And so it was so funny. And then, Kevin started getting in and actually putting some things in there too. He started joining in the festivities and through it all. No, I enjoyed having Kevin in there. He was just kind of that bulldog we needed to have in that chat.
I've been on the receiving end of that message from Kevin on numerous Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
A wide variety of justifiable reasons.
Yeah. Kevin calling it how it is, and we appreciate you, Kevin. Love having you in the event for sure. And same with Ethan, good guy. Veltri against Tyler Olson. Veltri coming again. That was in Leading Edge MMA. Unfortunately, they went 0-3 at the event, but still great competitors. We love having them down. Tyler Olson got the win there against Veltri. So Tyler went 1-1, lost against Luke, won against Jesse. And Jesse's a good player. He's won in our events before, and he's been through a couple of them. So good on TO. How about this one? Josh Archibong, Drake Blummer.
There's details to this match that I was completely unaware of.
Okay. Hit me up.
Until like after the fact. Because it closed funny. Like, why did Josh go storming off?
Yeah.
Why was Blummer all extra fired up?
Yeah.
Talking shit after the win. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Did you not see why?
I didn't see it.
Did you not see my video?
I even chatted with Josh because I've encountered him at the gym. We're kind of shared hour kind of whatevers. And even up through those conversations, I wasn't aware.
Okay.
Little smoocheroo.
Well, so here's what Yes, taunty. And so it seemed cool and everything seemed good. And I know Drake really well, obviously, training up at MSMA. And so Drake's, he I'll get to that, but I'll say this. Well, here's the thing. Josh came out, Drake, gave him a 5. It seemed like all was good. They were going to have this, match, and Josh was in control of the match. High pressure, just going hard. Josh is strong, great athlete. And then at one point, Josh hit the mount. And when he hit the mount, he looked up and he gave this, kind of kiss to the crowd, peace symbol. And I think Drake thought he did some type of like smoking the joint type thing.
Oh, and that's why.
I think but it looked like, and it might be wrong, but it looked like he did like kind of a kiss ode to the crowd and smiled, and you could see a smile. And then Drake was right below him, and Drake looked up at him and saw it. And I know Drake very well. You might beat Drake at jiu-jitsu. Drake's a very good striker, but you might beat Drake at jiu-jitsu. But the one thing you don't ever want to do is make it personal to him. And he made it personal at that moment. So once that happened, you'll flip a switch in Drake. And so it became not a jiu-jitsu match anymore, but it became a personal match. Yeah, fight. And so Drake found his way to the back. And in one of the coolest comebacks I've seen in any of our events, Drake locked it down and squeezed with every ounce of strength that he's a blummer, and they just have a specific type of strength, and he squeezed with all that strength. Yep, country. He squeezed with all that strength that he could, and he choked Josh out, and he got him. And Josh, obviously upset, and Josh took, whatever the post fight, him walking off and things. But I will say, in the comments, he said, it was a great choke, and he said, next time if we face each other, no antics.
He told me that he was upset with himself. That's why he kind of stormed off.
Yeah, I'm sure. I get it too. I get it. So, but you know what? I like Josh. Josh is a great guy. Josh is somebody we wanted to have on the show because Josh always gets his application in like first. And we didn't get him in the last one. We want him in this one. I like him a lot. He's a lot of upside. He's a gamer. He's a good guy.
I've seen him roll with Aaron Dinesh, brown belt, and 25 years of training or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're starting standing, and it's no gi. And I'm watching it going, because I've only known Josh actually a short period of time, like personally known him.
Yeah.
And I'm watching going, what the hell level is this kid? Because I know Benny's that good.
Yeah.
Why does it look pretty even? Like Josh is just like a natural wrestler, just an athlete. So great for the show. Throw some antics in. It's not my style.
Yeah. But it made for an interesting storyline there. Yeah. So Madeline Hergott from M Theory here, Kayla from AC out there in Fargo, North Dakota, and Kayla being an MMA fighter, and this was Madeline's first, super fight for sure. And she, they came out, and Kayla got the win. But Madeline still held her own and did really great, and she's got a great spirit. I really enjoyed having her on the show.
It was kind of the classic fighter trying to play top.
Yep.
Versus guard player, jiu-jitsu dork.
Yep. It was a good matchup, and congrats to Kayla on getting that W. She comes a long way, and I was glad we were able to at least get her a matchup instead of just having her come here and having to watch Huck Buddy, get his hand raised every time he comes here. So
it was just that Grappling Industries too had a bunch.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she did. And I just saw that a post came out. She's got an MMA fight coming up, I think, in August or something like that. So she's on the move, and hopefully Madeline keeps training and gets. I'd love to see her back in the shows again too. I know. She's awesome. I know. And Chuck Kreitz, Dave Lundberg from Isani Grappling, Chuck Kreitz from MSMA. Chuck got the submission victory there over Dave. Don't ask me which submission that was, as this was the second match, and I was having DJ issues, so my mind was in 100 spots. But
might as well be like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, yeah. So Chuck got the win over Dave. Good for Chuck. Chuck's a great guy, and he's working his way up, trying to compete all the time. Dave coming from Isani and being a part of the show. I'm thankful that he was a part of it, and so good match there. And then to start it off, we had Jack Christensen, Tabarak Muhammad. A few times, yeah. So Jack's beat him in no gi. Tabarak's beat him a few times in the gi, and this one was in the gi. And so Tabarak, capitalized on some mistakes from Jack, trying to be aggressive. And then Tabarak just controlled the match and got the victory there in the beginning. 2 spark plugs, though, those 2.
I think the repeat matches and then like the rivalries, and there's almost 2 different things. Like these guys have gone head to head a few times, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a rivalry.
Correct.
From the crowd standpoint.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't had those big explosive moments,
right.
You know, like Josh and Blummer.
Right, yeah.
But like, I heard at some point, and this is when I realized, oh yeah, these guys have gone head to head a couple times, because it was Jack, bottom side control, whatever, and you could hear him shout, "Dude, when did you get so strong?"
Yeah.
That right there is the value of having guys go head to head multiple times and then creating a series out of it.
Right.
Because you realize, man, everybody's getting better every time, and they're evolving, and maybe they're slinging iron, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I love the commentary mid-match, especially from the losing guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was, and it's like you try to, you know, as you can look at our matchup card here from blue belt, brown belt, black belt, blue belt, we're not doing this in just complete order here. There is no like hierarchy of like it's got to run white belt all the way up to the top of the black. It's like, I think we did that our first one, and then we were like, you know what? A lot of these other matches were real spark plug matches, and and that's how you got to build it. You got to build it out of what are the best matchups that you can make.
And then also, when I'm catching wild matches throughout, and even higher level matches early or later,
Mm-hmm.
I got a crowd the whole time.
I know.
Like it's not emptying out of boredom, or it didn't start really light because the good matches are later.
Uh-huh.
And it just kind of proves to people there's good matches the whole time.
Yeah, there are good matches.
The cleanest, prettiest jiu-jitsu, well, they're new to it.
Yeah.
They've been doing it a few years, but doesn't mean they're not going to kick some ass.
No, that's very, very true. We're still representing our blue belts. We didn't have one white belt match on here. We don't want to have so many matchups. You know, I mean, like, listen, like, we're not trying to drown you. We're trying to make an experience here, and so we get the right matchups in. And there's a lot of variables of how we choose those matchups. Could be it's the right matchup. Could be you are an incredible athlete. We want you. Could be you got your application in first, and we value that. So. There's a lot that goes into how you get your matchups involved, but we have, you know, anywhere from 25 to 28 matchups would probably be the max we would go to, for sure. And, you know, but we want to keep it that many matchups so it always stays quality as best we can.
What do you got in mind for next time based on this list and what happened? Anything?
As far as like, you know, I would feel that, you know, I've asked around of what potential rematches would be, and you know, obviously the Archibong Drake would be a really cool matchup to have happen. So there are ideas about, you know, who we would want to potentially make a rematch if that were something. We were looking at people as they move up. You know, we say this person deserves to move up the card, or this person deserves to move up the card, if they're available, right? And if they're not injured, if they're still competing, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? Wild cards. But I would say, you know what? I'd say we really did great at this event. I think it ran so smooth, and I think the matchups were really great. You know, you do deal with pullouts, you deal with people getting injured, you deal with a lot of fill-ins sometimes, but those are not setbacks. Those are kind of what was meant to happen, and so we run with those. We have a lot of great talent around this state to fill these matchups, and we want to continue to showcase that talent, but also take those that are winning consistently on these cards and eventually getting them people from outside sources and say, hey, you come up here, you come face our guys, and let's see how you can do against us, right? And I think we have, in this state, I truly believe we have some strong athletes that are going to be able to dominate people from other places and continue to showcase what Minnesota grappling is all about. That's for sure. And, you know, as we move forward, we look to the future, and you know, there's definite ideas. There's different ways we want to evolve the rule sets, and as we continue to grow it and have the ability to grow it, as we continue to have successful, clean events, and then we can show that to the Minnesota Combative Sports offices, and we continue to get the good feedback that we need to hear, you know, from people that are involved, whether it be the athletes, whether it be the fans, or whatever it is, to make the promotion better, to make the matches better, to make the experience better. And we're going to continue to try to make it a flawless, excellent operation through and through. And stay tuned, because, the fall comes close, and in the fall, the Chisago City comes calling, and the UCC number 4 is around the corner, and that will hopefully be announcing here not tomorrow. I need to go sleep for about 2 weeks, and but it's around the corner, and that's going to be there come fall, and we want everybody to be prepared and be ready for when the Uncommon Classic 4 comes calling, because it's going to be a big one, and we have some potentially big matchups to make for that one that nobody knows about yet. So yeah, Matt Browse. Let's leave him hanging. Yeah. So Superfly 2025 in the books.
And a success.
And a success.